The internet is on fire after shocking news broke that Riley Burruss's boyfriend has been arrested and jailed following the leak of a private hotel video that has sparked one of the biggest celebrity scandals of the year. Fans are calling it the ultimate betrayal, while social media is flooded with hashtags like #RileyBurruss, #LeakedHotelClip, #boyfriendinjail, and #cheating-scandal. What started as a quiet relationship has now exploded into a viral drama, complete with courtroom drama, public outrage, and emotional breakdowns caught on camera. Sources close to Riley say she is completely devastated and feels like her entire world has been shattered as millions watch the story unfold in real time. It started like any other Tuesday morning in the world of celebrity gossip, quiet, routine, almost boring, until a single headline began flashing across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Riley Burruss's boyfriend arrested after leaked hotel video shocks fans worldwide. Within minutes, #RileyBurruss was trending in over 25 countries. The story had everything the internet loves: fame, betrayal, scandal, and a shocking twist that nobody saw coming. Riley Burruss, the beloved daughter of reality TV star and Grammy-winning songwriter Kandi Burruss, had always managed to keep her personal life relatively private despite being raised in the spotlight. Her boyfriend, whose identity had been kept quiet from the press, was known only to close friends and family. That anonymity vanished in an instant when a grainy, late-night hotel room video surfaced online, a clip that would send shockwaves through not just her fanbase, but the entire entertainment world. According to multiple verified sources, the video wasn't just leaked, it was deliberately posted to a private group chat, which was later infiltrated and screenshotted by unknown parties. The content of the hotel clip was deeply personal, showing moments that were never meant for public eyes. And the most disturbing part? Investigators claim they have proof that Riley's own boyfriend was responsible for leaking it. By the afternoon, TMZ, The Shade Room, and major entertainment outlets had picked up the story. Riley's boyfriend in jail after leaking hotel video, one headline screamed. From love to lies, the scandal that's breaking the internet, read another. With each refresh of the news feed, more details emerged, whispers of a fight before the leak, claims that money was involved, and allegations of revenge. Social media users were ruthless. Comments flooded in, "This is betrayal at the highest level. He ruined her life for clout. Lock him up and throw away the key." Within hours, hashtags like #HotelClipLeak, #BoyfriendInJail, and #JusticeForRiley dominated trending lists on both Twitter and Instagram. The clip had already been removed from most platforms due to privacy violations, but the damage was done. Kandi Burruss herself appeared on Instagram Live that evening, her voice shaking as she addressed the situation. "As a mother, I'm heartbroken," she said, pausing to wipe away tears. "What happened to my daughter is unforgivable. We're working with the authorities, and I want to thank everyone who's shown us love during this awful time." Her words only fueled public outrage. Fans sent messages of support, but also demanded harsh punishment for the man they saw as the villain of the story. Police reports revealed that the boyfriend had been taken into custody late Monday night. The charges? Invasion of privacy, unlawful distribution of explicit material, and defamation. Legal experts explained that, if convicted, he could face several years in prison. Some even speculated that civil lawsuits could follow, with Riley entitled to significant damages. Behind the headlines, Riley herself has stayed mostly silent. Close friends say she is absolutely devastated and doesn't want to leave her house. Those who know her well describe the betrayal as a double blow. Not only was her trust destroyed, but now the entire world has seen something that was supposed to be private forever. The court of public opinion moved quickly, with online petitions demanding that the boyfriend be denied bail. A few influencers and celebrity friends of Riley began sharing the #ProtectRiley alongside black and white photos of her, calling for awareness about the dangers of revenge leaks and the trauma they cause. Even major news outlets began framing this not just as celebrity drama, but as a cautionary tale about digital privacy in the social media era. By the time the sun set, the case had evolved from a salacious gossip item into one of the most talked about scandals of the year. And for Riley, the damage was already irreversible. The emotional scars from this betrayal would last far longer than the news cycle, no matter how quickly the headlines moved on. As the legal process unfolded, new details began trickling out, each more shocking than the last. Court documents alleged that Riley's boyfriend had not only filmed the hotel clip without her knowledge but had also been in secret communication with a tabloid reporter weeks before the leak. That revelation sent fans into a frenzy. Suddenly, this wasn't just about betrayal, it was about premeditation. Digital forensic experts working with the police confirmed that the hotel video had been uploaded to a cloud account connected to the boyfriend's email address. From there, it was shared through multiple burner accounts before ending up in the hands of gossip bloggers. The trail was clear, and prosecutors wasted no time building a case. In the words of one insider, "They have him dead to rights." Meanwhile, the story was gaining traction beyond entertainment news. Mainstream outlets like CNN and BBC began reporting on it, framing the incident as part of a growing epidemic of digital exploitation and revenge leaks. Legal analysts debated the strength of the case, while privacy advocates pushed for stronger laws to protect victims. The phrase "Riley Hotel Clip Scandal" was now appearing in headlines worldwide, cementing the event as one of the most infamous celebrity privacy breaches of the decade. But perhaps the most gut-wrenching part of this ordeal was hearing from those close to Riley. A childhood friend told an Atlanta radio station, "She loved him. She defended him when people said he wasn't good enough for her. And now this? She's crushed. I don't even think she's processed it fully yet." The friend's voice broke, and listeners could feel the weight of her words. This wasn't just a tabloid headline, it was a deeply personal tragedy playing out in public view. Social media wasn't kind to the boyfriend either. His mugshot, released shortly after his arrest, became a viral meme, plastered with captions like "Karma in HD" and "When clout chasing goes wrong." But behind the jokes, there was real anger. People were calling for brands to blacklist him, for streaming platforms to pull any content he appeared in, and for the legal system to make an example out of him. The boyfriend's attorney, in a brief press conference, claimed his client was innocent and that the video had been stolen from his personal devices. But the public wasn't buying it. The timeline, the evidence, and the sheer malice behind the leak painted a very different picture. To many, this was an open and shut case of betrayal fueled by greed or spite, maybe both. Kandi Burruss remained fiercely protective of her daughter. In a follow-up Instagram Live, she warned fans to be careful about the narratives they consumed online. "There's a lot of false information out there," she said, "but one thing is true, Riley didn't deserve this. Nobody does." Her plea resonated deeply, sparking conversations about consent, trust, and the dangers of recording intimate moments. Even celebrities who had never met Riley began speaking out. Reality TV stars, musicians, and influencers alike posted in solidarity, often sharing their own experiences with betrayal and online leaks. One tweet from a famous actress went viral. "If this can happen to someone as strong and smart as Riley, it can happen to anyone. Protect your heart. Protect your privacy." As the scandal dominated headlines, legal proceedings moved quickly. The boyfriend's bail hearing became a media spectacle, with reporters packed outside the courthouse and fans chanting #Justice for Riley. Cameras captured every moment: the defendant in handcuffs, the stern-faced judge, and the tears of Riley's family sitting in the front row. By the end of the hearing, the judge had denied bail, citing the overwhelming evidence and the potential for witness tampering. It was a rare victory for victims in such cases, and social media erupted with applause. The message was clear: leaking private content without consent has real, life-altering consequences. Still, for Riley, the road ahead was uncertain. Friends say she's been leaning on her mother, her small circle of trusted allies, and professional counselors to cope with the trauma. While the world debates the legal and moral aspects of her situation, she's trying to find the strength to simply get through each day. In many ways, the Riley Hotel Clip scandal has become a cultural touchstone, a case that will be studied, debated, and remembered for years. It's not just a story of a relationship gone wrong. It's a wake-up call about the fragility of privacy in an age where every moment can be captured, stored, and weaponized. And as the boyfriend sits in a jail cell, awaiting trial, the rest of the world waits too, not just for a verdict in court, but for the next chapter in a story that has already changed so many conversations about love, trust, and betrayal in the digital era. The morning after the bail hearing, headlines around the world carried the same shocking image: Riley's ex-boyfriend being escorted back to his cell in an orange jumpsuit, his expression a mix of defiance and disbelief. The caption beneath one particularly viral shot read, "From hotel suite to jail cell, the fall of a man who betrayed Riley Burruss." It was the kind of photograph that told an entire story in one frame, and it spread across social media platforms like wildfire. For many, that image marked a turning point. Until then, some had entertained the possibility that this could have been a misunderstanding or an unfortunate accident. But now, with the court's refusal to grant bail and the mounting evidence against him, the narrative was clear. This wasn't a victimless mistake, it was a deliberate act of betrayal. Riley's leaked hotel clip wasn't just a gossip headline anymore. It was a criminal case, and the public knew it. Behind the scenes, prosecutors were meticulously building their argument. Sources close to the investigation confirmed that digital evidence had been cross-verified by multiple independent cybersecurity experts. Every timestamp, every IP address, every suspicious account that had handled the video was carefully documented. It was, as one legal analyst put it, a trail of digital breadcrumbs that leads straight back to him. Riley herself had yet to give a full public interview, but people close to her say she's been in deep discussions with her legal team about the possibility of pursuing additional civil charges for emotional damages. Privacy law specialists point out that this could open the door to a landmark case, one that might set a precedent for harsher penalties in celebrity revenge leak incidents. Meanwhile, the story was evolving beyond the legal drama. Entertainment news shows aired emotional segments about Riley's resilience, playing clips from her past interviews where she spoke about loyalty, ambition, and staying grounded in the spotlight. Those same clips, once just routine press footage, now took on new meaning. They painted a portrait of a young woman blindsided by someone she trusted completely. The online conversation was just as intense. The hashtag Justice for Riley continued to dominate Twitter's trending section for days, with fans sharing personal stories of betrayal, urging lawmakers to protect victims, and calling out media outlets that had profited from the leaked footage. Instagram Reels and TikTok videos analyzing every new court update were pulling millions of views. Even on Reddit, threads dissecting the scandal were attracting thousands of comments from people across the globe. The most heartbreaking reactions, however, came from Riley's inner circle. A close family friend revealed to a local news station that Riley had confided in her shortly after the leak, saying she felt as if her entire life had been hijacked. That one sentence captured the raw pain of the situation, the sense that this wasn't just about an intimate video being leaked, but about losing control over her own narrative. Adding to the emotional weight was Kandi Burruss's unwavering public defense of her daughter. During a surprise appearance on a popular talk show, Kandi's voice trembled as she addressed the incident. "We teach our kids to be careful, to trust the right people, but sometimes even the people closest to you can be the ones to hurt you the most. This has been the hardest thing I've watched my daughter go through." The studio audience sat in stunned silence, the gravity of her words cutting through the usual daytime TV chatter. While public sympathy for Riley grew, her ex-boyfriend's reputation was imploding. Former friends and business associates were coming forward with stories about his volatile temper, questionable deals, and apparent obsession with clout. One former colleague told a gossip blog, "He always wanted to be in the headlines. I guess he finally got his wish, just not the way he imagined." In the weeks following his arrest, more damning evidence surfaced. Text messages retrieved from his phone showed him bragging about owning the story and discussing potential payouts with intermediaries. These revelations turned an already damning case into an almost airtight prosecution, and the public's outrage reached a boiling point. The trial date was set, and it promised to be one of the most closely watched celebrity court cases in recent memory. News outlets were preparing live coverage, legal experts were lining up for commentary, and fans were planning to camp outside the courthouse just to catch a glimpse of Riley and the man accused of betraying her. And yet, amid the chaos, Riley was said to be finding small moments of peace. Friends report that she has been spending more time away from the spotlight, focusing on self-care, and leaning on her mother's support. She's been seen taking quiet walks in her neighborhood, visiting her favorite local cafes, and even smiling occasionally when approached by fans offering words of encouragement. One thing was certain: the real battle had only just begun. The upcoming trial would determine not just the fate of Riley's ex-boyfriend, but the message society sends about privacy, consent, and the consequences of violating both. The courthouse steps were swarming with cameras long before the first hearing of the trial even began. Every major outlet had set up camp, their live streams capturing the anticipation in the air. Fans and reporters alike had gathered behind barricades, holding signs that read #Justice for Riley, protect women's privacy, and even lock him up for good. For weeks, the narrative had been building. Riley's ex-boyfriend wasn't just facing charges for leaking the hotel video, he was being made into a symbol for everything wrong with how the digital world treats consent and celebrity boundaries. When Riley arrived, dressed in a fitted black suit with her mother, Kandi Burruss, at her side, the crowd erupted into chants of support. Kandi, ever the fierce protector, walked with her arm around Riley, shielding her from the blinding flashes. Though she didn't speak to the press, the determined set of her jaw said everything. This wasn't just another public appearance. This was a fight for her daughter's dignity. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. Prosecutors wasted no time painting a vivid picture of betrayal. In their opening statement, they described how Riley had trusted her then-boyfriend completely, how the video was recorded under mutual understanding that it would never leave their private devices, and how that trust was shattered when it appeared online without her consent. They played snippets of the digital forensic evidence that had been gathered, metadata, online account activity, and chat logs that prosecutors claimed linked directly back to the defendant. The defense, on the other hand, tried to plant seeds of doubt. They suggested the video could have been hacked from the boyfriend's phone, or even leaked by a third party trying to frame him. But their argument faltered when the prosecution revealed text messages in which the boyfriend allegedly bragged to a friend about having something that could go viral overnight. That single piece of evidence sent shockwaves through the room. Riley kept her composure, but those close enough to see her face noticed her grip tighten on the edge of the witness stand. The betrayal was no longer just implied. It was laid bare for the court to see. As the trial continued, witnesses took the stand to testify about the ex-boyfriend's behavior in the days before and after the leak. A former associate claimed he had been boasting about his connections to major blogs and how he could make easy money if he wanted to. Another witness, a mutual friend of the couple, recalled a chilling conversation in which he had joked about turning Riley's fame into his payday. Outside the court, the world was reacting in real time. Twitter threads dissected every new piece of testimony. TikTok creators posted emotional reaction videos, and Instagram fan pages flooded their feeds with messages of solidarity for Riley. Even celebrities weighed in. One A-list actress posted on her Instagram story, "Enough is enough. Women's privacy isn't a bargaining chip. What happened to Riley is disgusting, and we stand with her." This public pressure only amplified the stakes. Legal experts noted that this wasn't just a criminal case anymore, it was a cultural moment. If the jury sided with Riley, it could set a precedent for how celebrity revenge leaks are prosecuted in the future. If they didn't, it could send a chilling message to victims everywhere. Meanwhile, Riley's testimony became the emotional centerpiece of the trial. Speaking softly but firmly, she recounted how she first learned of the leak. A friend had called her in tears, warning her that something private had gone public. She described the sheer panic of checking her phone, the feeling of her chest tightening when she saw her own face in the thumbnails on gossip sites, and the overwhelming wave of shame and anger that followed. She also spoke about the days after the leak, the hateful DMs, the tabloids camped outside her home, the friends who stopped calling because they didn't know what to say. But she emphasized one thing above all: "I never consented to share that video. Not with anyone. Not for money, not for fame. The only thing I wanted was to keep a private moment private. And he took that from me." The room was silent when she finished. Even the judge appeared visibly moved. But the defense wasn't done. They tried to question her about her public image, about her time in the spotlight as the daughter of a Real Housewives star, implying that Riley should have been used to media attention. The suggestion drew an immediate objection from the prosecution, and murmurs of disapproval rippled through the gallery. In that moment, the defense's strategy became clear. They wanted to frame this as a misunderstanding, or worse, as something Riley had indirectly brought on herself by being a public figure. But the tide of public opinion wasn't on their side. The very idea that fame justified such a violation only fueled more outrage online. The most dramatic twist came midway through the trial, when prosecutors introduced bank records showing a sudden deposit of $15,000 into the ex-boyfriend's account just days after the video's release. While the source of the deposit was undisclosed, investigators hinted it came from a gossip outlet eager for exclusive footage. The defense scrambled to argue the payment was unrelated, but the damage was done. The jury had just been handed a possible motive. By the end of Part 3 of this saga, the evidence against Riley's ex was mounting, and the trial was becoming more than just a legal proceeding. It was a public reckoning. Every revelation added another layer to the story: the betrayal, the greed, the shameless exploitation of a woman's privacy for personal gain. And as the court adjourned for the day, Riley walked out of the building surrounded by supporters chanting her name. For the first time since this ordeal began, she allowed herself a small smile. The fight wasn't over, but it was clear she wasn't facing it alone. The morning of the third week of trial broke with heavy clouds over Atlanta, as if the sky itself understood the weight of what was about to unfold. Riley Burruss sat quietly in the passenger seat of the black SUV, her eyes fixed on the courthouse in the distance. The constant camera flashes had become a part of her new reality, but today, there was something different. The air felt heavier, the whispers outside louder. The rumor was that the prosecution had one last witness who could seal the fate of her ex-boyfriend once and for all. Inside the courtroom, the benches were already filled to capacity. Bloggers, mainstream media, and curious onlookers leaned forward, notebooks ready, phones discreetly recording every word. The moment Judge Harrison entered and called the court to order, all conversation ceased. The prosecution rose, a determined gleam in their eyes, and announced, "Your Honor, the state calls Detective Marissa Cole to the stand." Detective Cole was no stranger to high-profile cases. Calm, methodical, and unshakable, she had built her reputation on uncovering digital crimes that others deemed untraceable. As she began her testimony, the room leaned in. She explained how her team had traced the leaked hotel video from its first upload to the exact IP address of Riley's ex-boyfriend. Every click, every file transfer, every encrypted message had left a breadcrumb trail that led straight back to him. The defense tried to object, arguing that IP addresses could be spoofed, but Detective Cole was prepared. She presented not just the IP logs, but also matching timestamps from the boyfriend's phone activity, private social media messages boasting about "turning this into my big break," and screenshots of drafts of the video's upload title and descriptions saved on his device. The most damning detail? The title draft matched the one the gossip blog eventually used, word for word. The crowd gasped. This wasn't circumstantial anymore. It was a direct link. Riley kept her hands folded tightly in her lap, but her knuckles were white. Every word from the detective was a reminder that the betrayal she had felt wasn't just emotional, it was deliberate, calculated, and selfish beyond comprehension. After the testimony, the prosecution played a clip from a secretly recorded phone call between the ex-boyfriend and a former acquaintance, captured after the leak went public. In the recording, his voice was low but clear. "Man, I knew this would blow up. People love drama, and this? This was my ticket. Easy money, easy fame. She'll be fine, she's already famous. I needed this." The room went dead silent. Even the defense attorney shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Riley's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. Kandi, sitting behind her, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. By lunch break, the courthouse steps were chaos. News anchors stood in the rain, umbrellas barely holding against the wind, reporting live updates. Social media exploded with hashtags like #LockHimUp, #JusticeForRiley, and #StopTheLeak culture. Opinion pieces flooded in from columnists, activists, and legal experts who all seemed to agree. This case was no longer just about Riley. It had become a cultural milestone in the fight against non-consensual media leaks. Back in court, the defense took their turn to cross-examine Detective Cole. They tried to poke holes in her investigation, questioning the reliability of digital evidence and implying that someone could have planted files on the boyfriend's devices. But Cole's responses were measured and precise. She explained chain of custody protocols, forensic verification methods, and multiple cross-checks her team had performed. By the time she stepped down from the stand, it was clear the defense had failed to shake her credibility. Then came the prosecution's final push. They called Riley back to the stand. The atmosphere shifted. Cameras zoomed in, pens hovered above notepads, and all eyes locked on her. Her voice was steady, though her words carried the weight of weeks of public scrutiny. She spoke about how she had trusted him, how she had never imagined he would weaponize their private moments. She described the humiliation of strangers dissecting her life online, the anxiety of seeing her name in trending hashtags for all the wrong reasons, and the isolation that came from knowing that millions of people had witnessed something that was never meant for them. But she also spoke about strength, about the friends, fans, and even strangers who had reached out with messages of support, about her mother's unwavering presence, about how, despite everything, she refused to be defined by someone else's cruelty. "This isn't just about me," she said, locking eyes with the jurors. "It's about every person who's ever had their privacy stolen, their dignity taken, and their trust shattered. If my fight can stop this from happening to someone else, then it's worth it." The impact was palpable. Jurors shifted in their seats, some with sympathetic expressions. Even seasoned reporters scribbling in the back seemed moved. As the day's session drew to a close, the judge announced that closing arguments would begin the next morning. That meant one thing: the verdict was coming soon. When Riley stepped outside, the rain had stopped, but the air was thick with anticipation. Reporters shouted questions. "Do you think he'll be convicted? What will you do after this is over?" She didn't answer, simply walking past them, her gaze fixed forward. Inside the SUV, Kandi turned to her and said softly, No matter what happens, you've already won. You didn't let him silence you. You didn't let him win. But Riley knew the fight wasn't truly over until the jury spoke. And in that moment, as the city's skyline blurred past the window, she silently promised herself one thing. If justice was on her side, she would use her voice louder than ever before. The courthouse was overflowing that morning. People stood shoulder to shoulder in the hallway, the smell of coffee and nervous energy thick in the air. Outside, news vans lined the block, their satellite dishes pointing skyward as anchors rehearsed their live segments. The story of Riley Burruss's leaked hotel video had transcended celebrity gossip. It had become a symbol, a test of whether justice could truly be served in the age of viral scandal. Riley walked in, flanked by her legal team and her mother, Kandi Burruss. She wore a simple black dress, her hair pulled back, her expression unreadable. Weeks of testimony, cross-examinations, and public scrutiny had brought her to this moment. The man who had once been her boyfriend, the same man who had sworn he loved her, now sat just a few feet away, his hands clasped together on the defense table, eyes fixed on the floor. The judge entered, and the tension in the room solidified into silence. The jury filed in, each wearing an expression that gave nothing away. Riley's heart pounded, but she kept her gaze steady. She had promised herself she wouldn't look away, no matter the outcome. The foreperson stood. The court clerk asked the question, "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "We have, Your Honor." The pause before the reading felt eternal. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every breath, every twitch, every tear that threatened to fall. On the charge of unlawfully distributing intimate media without consent, guilty. The room erupted in gasps and muffled cries. Riley closed her eyes for a moment, letting the words sink in. On the charge of invasion of privacy, guilty. Her ex-boyfriend's shoulders slumped. He turned slightly toward his attorney, who whispered something quickly, but it was too late. On the charge of harassment with intent to cause emotional distress, guilty. It was over. The judge thanked the jury for their service and immediately moved into sentencing. Given the multiple charges and the overwhelming evidence, the punishment was severe, several years in state prison, plus hefty financial restitution to Riley. The courtroom murmured, the news already hitting social media like wildfire. Hashtags like #JusticeForRiley and #PrivacyMatters surged to the top of trending lists within minutes. Riley didn't cry. Instead, she took a deep breath, stood tall, and walked out of the courtroom without looking back. Outside, the press swarmed her, microphones pushed forward, voices overlapping. "Riley, how do you feel? Do you have a message for your fans? What's your next step?" She stopped at the top of the courthouse steps, her mother by her side, and spoke clearly so everyone could hear. "What happened to me should never happen to anyone. This isn't just my victory. It's for every person whose privacy has been violated. Today, the court said loud and clear, consent matters, dignity matters, and justice matters." Her words spread instantly. Within hours, clips of her statement were playing on every major network, and her name became the top trending topic worldwide. Celebrities, influencers, and everyday people began sharing their own stories of resilience, using her case as a rallying cry for stronger privacy laws. That night, Riley sat quietly on her balcony, looking out over the city. She could still hear the echoes of the day, the verdict, the cheers, the press conference. For the first time in months, the noise inside her head began to fade. She knew the scars would always be there, but so would her strength. And somewhere, behind the cold bars of a prison cell, the man who thought he could use her for fame and profit was realizing the full cost of betrayal. The story of Riley Burruss's leaked hotel video had started as a moment of violation, but it ended as a moment of victory. And as she turned off her phone and let the night air wash over her, she knew one thing for certain: she had taken her power back, and she wasn't giving it up again.